almost 3 years, every Sunday. I also went to every demonstration in San Francisco and Santa Cruz prior to the war as well. The large demonstrations in the city, I was there for every one of them before the war started, and it was quite an occasion. Quite an occasion. I mean, there was wall-to-wall people, you could hardly move. My wife and I made it up for each and every one before the war, and the ones that have happened since the war started, the major ones, we've gone up for those as well. I wish I could be in Washington, but I sworn that I wouldn't go back to Washington, D.C. until we had a woman in the White House and or a person of color. I visited the last time in '74. I was heading back to Germany, and I stopped in to see my grandfather. But I would still like to take part in that march on the 24th with Cindy Sheehan and the rest of the mothers and the rest of the veterans, etc. I'd love to be there, just for that. These fascists are now running our government. Okay, well, what does that have to do with you flying the American flag? Because I choose to, because it shows the sign of distress. Did you understand my English? It doesn't make any difference whether I served in anything or not. I oftentimes lose it because I did serve, but it shouldn't make any difference. You don't come up and ask a person if they served. We had a few that have come out and they've been very respectful and they've talked, and we've been able to explain things to them and educate them. They were like 18, 19-year-olds. One young fellow said to us one weekend that he didn't care what happened to him. He wanted to go to war and he didn't care what happened to him. I looked at him and shook my head. I said, go home and say that to your mother. Go home and tell your mother that you don't care what happens to you and see what she has to say in response. If she agrees with you, then I feel sorry for your family.
Today, in this state, you said it really well the first time. I mean, there's probably a lot of people that agree with you, probably a lot of people that disagree with you.
If you're against what their beliefs are, then you are wrong. We are wrong. And we feel that they have the right to say what they feel, how they feel about our protesting, how they feel about the war, their support for same. We have the right to be out here, protest the war, and state that we are profoundly against the war and this administration. Yeah, I served, did my time, 68 through 78, and I just re-enlisted when Nixon's crap hit the fan. I took 6 years, and if I hadn't taken 6 years, I would have gotten out in a heartbeat. There's no way I'm going to serve for a president who steps on the Constitution like some of these guys have done. I'm just not going to do it. No, I joined the Army to leave the South. I lived in Pensacola, Florida. It was time to leave home. Wasn't doing well in college. I'd gone to an all-black school all my life, and I jumped into college, and it was predominantly white. We weren't welcomed. Mother and I weren't getting along very well. Had no father to speak of. It was time to move on. I was becoming more militant. I listened to Martin Luther King, but I was becoming more Malcolm. So it was time for me to move on. So I joined the Army to grow up, see a little of the world. I knew I had a chance of going to Nam, but it didn't make any difference. I needed to move on with my life and grow up and become an adult away from family, etc. So I did it. It was a good move at the time. I'm glad I did it. For the experience, I wouldn't take anything for the experience. I was disappointed with a lot of what I had to deal with because I left the South and joined the Army thinking things would be a lot better. They were in some ways, but you still had to deal with Southern crackers in the Army. But I ended up Staff Sergeant on the E7 list when I got out in '78, and the Sergeant Major tried to get me to re-enlist. Said I was on track to be Sergeant Major in the next 5-10 years. Nope. Time to move on. Have enough. It's sad. It really is. The attitudes of people who supposedly believe in freedom. And Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, they all have repeated it enough. Was it Goebbels that said, if you repeat a lie often enough? So, and it's just sunk in, and it's just a natural hatred for people in the Middle East. It's those others, and they've been demonized just like we did the Viet Cong. They come out to be the worst of the worst, all of them, like the officer in Vietnam said, we have to destroy the village to save it. No clue. I said, they've heard the lies enough that it's reality for them. That's the truth. Iraqis were involved in 9/11. He was coming to explode a nuclear weapon in New York, and we had to go get him.
The reason I oppose the war in Iraq is because this is a war for oil and power. Our interest in the Middle East has never been anything other than oil and power.
It is a result of a doctrine that is available to everybody, the PNAC doctrine, Project for the New American Century, lays out the American plan for invasion of the Middle East, to control its resources, and from there to project American power throughout the world.
We pulled off the coup which overthrew a democratically elected president of Iran in 1953. We supported Iraq in their invasion against Iran. We even encouraged it. We gave Saddam Hussein the green light to invade Kuwait, and then we clobbered him.
The war in Iraq has no direct connection with 9/11 whatsoever.
When the opportunity came, 9/11, this was a trick to blame the terrorism on Saddam Hussein and weapons of mass destruction. We didn't have evidence. The CIA actually said it was doubtful. The whole thing was a lie.
Propaganda, as it's presented to the media, dominate practically all the images and thinking capacity that we have. And we have forgotten how to think for ourselves. If you don't own a TV station or forms of communication, one has to use the means that is available. And getting your fellow citizens together, performing a demonstration and expressing your opinion becomes effective and the least expensive way to do it. But other means besides demonstrating, of course, one can write books, make speeches, struggle to get control of the means of communication. Take the radio and TV back from the commercial interests and express the public interest that way.
When people say, go home, you're wasting your time, get a job, my response is we are supporting our troops. We are demonstrating against their being misused by the politicians. In a just war, we should support the war with all our might. In an unjust war, the way to support our troops is to try to do everything we can to stop the war. That's the way to support the troops. And we are, above all, trying to stop an unjust war.
The inverted flag is an international signal of distress. The nations of the sea, when they're in trouble, their ships are about to sink, or there's a mutiny aboard or whatnot, they invert the flag and ask for help. So the flag stands for the ship of state. America is in dire straits, and it is the responsibility of the citizens to rise to that occasion.